Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, Anders Numismatics. Now, this video is a video that I've been, kind of thinking about making for a long time, and I've briefly touched on it in other videos. I've done videos on, like, coin roll hunting tips. I've done videos on, kind of like things that I do when I coin roll hunt. But I haven't made a video, especially an updated video, because those last few videos I made were over a year ago. One I even made back in 2019, and obviously there are some changes since then. But this video is kind of an updated video on like what is coin roll hunting for one, and also kind of a combination of some tips and tricks you can use to get coins from your bank, especially when we're in this coin shortage. Um, this is gonna be an updated video. The camera quality is a little bit different because I am recording on my laptop. This is kind of an impromptu idea. I'm not recording on my phone, which typically has better quality, so bear with me here. The quality is probably only going to be like 360 or 720p. I'm gonna share with you guys first what is coin roll hunting, and like why it's something you might want to consider, and the benefits and maybe even some of the cons involved as well. Let's start with what coin roll hunting is. So, coin roll hunting is the process where one goes to a bank and typically a bank. You can coin hunt other ways. That's why, you might not always call it coin roll hunting. A lot of people search the Coinstar machines because a lot of times people um, don't check the reject bin for coins that they leave. And also, coin hunting, as I said, doesn't always involve rolls, but I'm just going for coin roll hunting for this video. So, like I said, you go to the bank and preferably it's one that you have an account with, but I'm only 17 years old, and most of these banks I don't have an account with, and I'm going to talk to you guys as if you guys didn't have an account, and if you had an account, it pretty much makes it super easy. Even during the coin shortage, having an account at a bank makes a huge difference. And if you have an account at a bank, unless they aren't able to, usually they're perfectly fine ordering coins for you. So, if you have an account, just go into the bank, and there are two ways that you can get coins. One way is the way that I've been doing since I don't have an account in any of these banks, is just going in and asking if they have any coins in the vault. Sometimes they'll carry spare boxes. Sometimes they'll carry custom wrapped rolls. It just depends. You just got to see what they have. You can do that if you're an. You can try to do that if you're an account holder or not an account holder. But if you're an account holder, the other way is through ordering. And you just put an order in through your account, and they put it in their little system, and um, if when and if it arrives, they call you. So what I do, on the topic of like what is coin roll hunting, is people pretty much just look through rolls of coin or loose coin, in search of coins that are worth more than face value, or coins that they think are cool, or like coins that are older, coins that have like a cool toning on them, foreign coins, either coins that have more value than their face value, which if you don't know what face value means, I think most people know what that means, but it's the value of the coin, of the said value of the coin. Um, and a lot of times these coins that are worth more face value, that are worth more than face value, are made with a different metal. So like all pennies 1981 and back are made of 95% copper, and those are on average worth around 2 cents a piece. And silver, all half dollars, quarters, and dimes, 1964 and back, are made of 90% silver. Half dollars, 65 to 70, are 40%. And silver dollars, that's a different story. I'm not going to cover that right now in this video. But so I'm going to talk to you guys about some of the things that you can find in coin roll hunting, and I'm going to go through each denomination. I do realize that this type of thing, people have talked about this type of thing before, but I've only seen like one or other two people doing it. So I'm going to talk about the different things you can find in denominations, starting with pennies. So pennies are interesting because in the late 1850s, the United States reduced the size of the penny into, the size that we know, the small cent, which is about like that. They used to make them a lot bigger, which we called large cents. Obviously, you can't find those in penny rolls, but because they switched to the small cent in the 1850s, you could, in theory, find an 1857 Flying Eagle cent. So that brings us to, you can find Flying Eagles, Indian head pennies, wheatback pennies, memorial cents, 2009 cents, which have their own special reverse, commemorating Lincoln's 200th birthday anniversary, and the Lincoln Shield pennies. Most of the time, people are looking for the wheat pennies and back, but a lot of times people pull out the memorial coins that are copper. And also, a lot of people pull out the 2009 because they are slightly low minted. Although I do not pull them out anymore because if you go coin roll hunt a lot, you'll find a lot of them. Now, in nickels, usually the types of nickels that you can find are the shield nickel, the V nickel, the buffalo nickel, the Jefferson nickel, and the Jefferson modified, which they started in 2006. In 2004 and 2005, again, they had some commemorative designs. Most people in nickels have kind of a cutoff date that they're looking for. Some people pull out 1960s and back. Some people pull out 1950s and back. I pull out 1950s and back because in the 60s, the United States started making a lot more nickels, and so you'll see the mintages go up quite a bit in the 60s. So I only pull out 59 and back. And another thing about nickels is in the Jefferson nickels from 1942 to 1945, they made what people call silver war nickels, where the coin had a large mint mark, and mint mark is like a letter indicating where the coin is made, on top of the reverse of the Monticello building. Now, 1942, not all of them were silver. They started making them in silver mid-year. So if you don't see that mint mark on a 1942, it's not any sort of error. It's just a non-silver version. Now, as far as dimes go, usually people could find seated dimes, barber dimes, mercury dimes, um, and Roosevelt dimes. And again, we want to make the distinction from Roosevelt dimes because 1946 through 1964, Roosevelt dimes are silver, and anything after that is not silver. Um, Although, as I said, with dime, well, I didn't say this, but dimes, quarters, half dollars, anything, any proof coins that were made from 1992 on up, the United States Mint, San Francisco Mint, did make some silver proofs. So if you get any proof dimes, quarters, or half dollars that are 1992 and up, you do want to check those for silver. They're usually pretty easy to tell. If those are silver, they have a huge white rim. If they're clad, they kind of have like a coppery color rim. And I will say, with all coins, I don't pull out 2009 quarters or pennies anymore because I find those a lot. But for me, in my area in the Northwest, we really don't seem to get many 2009 nickels or dimes at all. So I rarely see those, and I pull those out every time. But if you're wanting to collect all 2009 coins, keep anything 2009 in all the denominations. So moving on to quarters. The main types of quarters that you can find are seated, barber, standing Liberty, and Washington. And then after that, they did kind of obviously start on the state quarter series, which started from 1999 and went to 2008, and then obviously 2009 for quarters had their own special design. And then after that, in 2010, they started on the National Park Quarter Series, which ran up until 2020 or 2021. I can't remember exactly. Now, quarters, a lot of people regard them as the most difficult coin to find silver in, but if you're looking to fill up an album, there's a ton of coins that you can do to fill up an album, and quarters are one of the best denominations if you're looking for errors and varieties. Namely, in the state quarters, there's a ton of errors and varieties that you can look for. Um, and another thing that you can look for in quarters, which actually is, as far as coin roll hunting goes, is a relatively new thing to quarters. Well, in the last few years, the West Point minted quarters. They started making them in 2019. There are 10 different designs, and they made in 2019 and 2020. They only made them in 2019 and 2020. And there's, as far as all 10 designs, there was only 10 million of all 10 designs made. So they're pretty rare, and they're actually worth more than a silver quarter. So if you find one with a W mint mark that's 2019 or 2020, you do want to keep it for sure, even if it's not silver. And another one way you can distinctly know the difference between the 2019 and 2020 quarter. The 2020 quarters have a little V75 privy mark on the left side that indicates the 75th anniversary of World War II at the time. So that's another thing you want to keep an eye out on. Now, moving on to half dollars. As I said before, all dimes, nickels, or all dimes, quarters, and half dollars, 1964 and back are 90% silver, which is true. But something different with the half dollars, which I kind of briefly mentioned before. Anything 1965 to 1970 is going to be made out of 40% silver. And with those 40% silver coins, you want to make special attention to those 1970s because those are more rare coins and are technically NIFCs, which I'll talk about a little bit more. And obviously, kind of another design change in the half dollars is the bicentennial half dollars, which were made in 1975 and 1976. Same with the quarters. They're not really worth anything other than 50 cents, especially in the half dollars. If you hunt half dollars, you will find a crap ton of these. So believe me, they are not worth keeping unless they're like a proof or a silver proof or something. Another NIFC, which NIFC means not intended for circulation. It's just the abbreviation. If you find any half dollars minted in 1987, whatever mint it is, keep those because those are pretty rare, and they're more rare, mostly always, than the NIFCs that I'll talk about in just a second. So the NIFCs that most people know about are the ones made from 2002 up until 2020. Now, in my area, I find a lot of 2018 NIFC half dollars. So I don't keep those because I don't consider those NIFCs. I find a ton of them, but they technically do fall in that ballpark. But 2021, 2022, and I believe 2023 half dollars were issued for circulation. And I think it's due to when the whole coin shortage thing started. No, dollar coins again get interesting because we have two different sizes of dollar coins in the United States. They're the small dollars and the large dollars. The small dollars were started being made with portrait of Susan B. Anthony on it, and they started making those in 1979. They made them in 1979, 80, 81, and 1999. Now, 1981 Susan B. Anthony's are special because those are NIFCs, and you definitely want to keep those. In 2000, they started the gold dollar series, and they started with Sacagawea, and they made those up until 2008, and then in 2009 through 2011, they made various commemorative ones with Sacagawea on it. And in 2012, with both Sacagawea and the presidential dollar series, which started in 2007, anything that's a Sacagawea or presidential dollar that's 2012 and up is also an NIFC. So if you see any of those, obviously it's a dollar coin, so you might want to be more picky based on condition. You might want to keep those. And obviously the presidential dollar coins have most of the presidents on them. So that's another thing you want to keep a lookout for. So now we've covered kind of the basic rundown of what you want to find when you're coin roll hunting. Now I'm going to talk about some of the things that I do that make it easier to get coins from banks. Obviously, as I said in the beginning, having an account takes you on a much better path than you would without having one. It is a huge advantage. Um, but for someone who doesn't really have an account at most of these banks, I'll talk to you guys about what I do. Now, usually when I'm going to banks, I try to stick with ones that I know have some sort of leeway. And what I mean by that is Chase Bank, for example. I go to those most. I mostly go to those because they have a policy. Even if you don't have an account, anyone can do a transaction there as long as I cannot talk. As long as it is $100 or less. Now that isn't a ton as far as bank transactions go, but when you're looking for coins, it can be a decent amount of help for you. So a lot of times I go with Chase banks or similar banks or branches that have their own amount of leeway for non-customers. Like a city over, there's a bank in my area that has a $300 limit. So that's one that I always keep in mind when I'm looking for banks to return to and banks to get coins from. Now, most of the time, going to get these coins, and because I don't have an account with like 99% of these banks, um, I just honestly, it's honestly as simple as just going in and asking. Just do you have any coins? I always start out with asking, do you have any half dollars or any Ike dollars? And Ike dollars are the Eisenhower dollars, which I started making in 1971. Um, and those are a little bit harder to find because it's a size of denomination that we don't have usually in circulation anymore. So you always want to ask, do you have any half dollars or any? You can either say silver dollars or Eisenhower dollars. Now, right now, um, the repercussions of the coin shortage are still happening to banks, and so even though I'm don't really believe that it's really a coin shortage anymore. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to change the bank's opinion, so I just, try my best to see what they have. A lot of people, when they go into a bank, they have an intent of a specific denomination to get. So, like, you want to go into a bank and you're looking for dimes, or you're looking for quarters, or you're looking for nickels. Honestly, for me, I pretty much like hunting any denomination. It doesn't really matter what it is. Um, I do like hunting pennies and nickels because you can get more for less. And so those are nice to hunt, and they're also relatively inexpensive. You can get a entire box, 50 rolls of pennies for only $25 at the bank. Although, as I said, as I've kind of mentioned, these days it's a little harder to do that. Now, another kind of tip and strategy that a lot of people do, and I do as well, is have a strategy of how you want to go about this, and also kind of a goal that you want to meet when you're coin roll hunting. So, for example, what I do is I get coins from the bank. I hunt them, pull out any coins that might be worth more than face value, and obviously, a lot of the time, I won't find anything that's worth more than face value. But when I do find coins like silver, I hold on to it, and it's kind of an exponential thing. I hunt coins, I find some silver, I make a little bit of money, and then I tack that money on to my money saved for coin roll hunting, and then the amount of money for coin roll hunting I have exponentially grows. Which, the more money you have for coin roll hunting, the more silver you'll likely get, and the more valuable coins you'll likely get. So for me, it's kind of an exponential thing, and it's one of those things where for me, it's kind of like a side thing. Um, in some sort of employment system. like, you know, another way to make money essentially. Um, so that's another thing you might want to keep in mind. Having an end goal. Um, so that way you know where you're trying to take the hobby, because there's no point in doing any hobby when you don't have any sort of goal in mind. You don't have any sort of like strategy of how you're going to go about it. So that's kind of how I do it. I just, you know, anything I find, I make a little bit of money on. um, the amount of money I have to coin or hunt grows, and I'm able to get more coins to hunt, therefore more chances to find coins that are valuable. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about is the other part of coin hunting, which is getting these coins back somewhere so you can get your cash back, obviously, because, you know, you don't want to be going to a grocery store and paying with $100 in nickels for your groceries. Although no one can buy any groceries anymore that's $100 or less. Ha. Anyway, so again, I'm going to talk about kind of the other side of the coin, no pun intended, as far as coin roll hunting and getting your cash back for all the coins you've hunted. Now, usually there are two ways that most people, and myself as well, return coins to get their money back. You can either roll it up and take it to a bank, or you can take it to a coin counting machine. Now, that's just a very basic rundown. There are some things that I want to clarify. Um, some banks in some parts of the country have automatic coin machines that you can just dump your coins in, but those coin machines aren't present in every part of the country, and I know that a lot of these banks are getting rid of those machines. Um, and so this doesn't apply to everyone in my state. None of the banks around me have automatic coin machines that you can just dump your coins in. All of us are just stuck rolling everything up. But if you have like someone who has a use for the coins, like you have a bunch of quarters, and you know you have a friend who works at a laundromat and they need the quarters, you know, obviously if you have a way to get them to someone other than turning it into a bank without dumping them into like a Coinstar, which is kind of the other side of what I was talking about, where you can dump it into a Coinstar. Again, the only automatic coin machine that we have in our area are Coinstars. Banks don't have them in our area, and we don't have anything in grocery stores other than Coinstar. But if you have the opportunity of like a friend or someone who is willing to buy all your coins off you, you want to take that opportunity because it saves the trip from the bank and it saves any confusion that you might have. Now, another thing that I kind of wanted to touch on was kind of the strategy for picking up at banks and returning at banks. Now, one thing that you always want to do is make sure that the bank that you're buying from is the bank that you're returning from, unless you have like no other option. Like me, most of the banks around me, I've been there tons of times and they know me at this point and don't care if I pick up and return there. But I mostly do that because I don't have an account at really any of these banks, and so they don't mind. And in fact, they a lot of times, I buy so much coin, I buy and return pretty much any coin that they have, and so a lot of times when I clear them out, they're low on coin, and then they like a lot of times they even, you know, a lot of times they appreciate it when I return those coins back to them so they can have those coins for business and stuff. So, but that isn't always the case. So if you know, most of the time banks don't like when you pick up and return at the same branch. And so I'm turning 18 next year, and I plan to make accounts at different banks and choose what banks I'm going to return at and what banks I'm going to get coins at. And again, I'm going to take into account what banks have given me the best response. Um, and you know, banks that have given me the best response as far as getting coins, those will probably be banks that I'll pick up from. And banks that I'll return from are banks that usually don't have a lot of coins, I've noticed, but are willing to take my coins, because they don't have, you know, usually because they don't have a lot. And also, obviously, you got to consider what what you're gonna use for your non-coin or hunting stuff, like your other financial related things. And so, um, that's another thing you might want to consider. Another thing that a lot of people I've noticed not a ton of people touch on is some of the supplies you might need for coin roll hunting. One of the best things that money can buy as far as looking for supplies for coin roll hunting are these. These are coin roll hunting mats. These ones specifically are from Rob Finds Treasure. Um, if you don't know, he's someone who coin roll hunts, and these are one of the best things you can get because they have spots, as you can see on the top. This is one for pennies. I have an outdated one from 2019, but they have spots for where you can put your coins when you're coin roll hunting. And so that's one thing you can get. You also might want to invest in a tripod. I have a couple different ones. I have a really tall one, and then I have a shorter one for different angles. Um, Also, maybe some kind of light, like a ring light, or maybe even your phone flashlight. A lot. That's what I use. It works for me pretty well. Um, and um, obviously with coin roll hunting, you're gonna probably need a decent camera. I don't use my computer for coin roll hunting. I used to do that back in 2019, but that was before I had gotten a cell phone. So now I use my phone, and the camera quality works just fine. But if you do want to invest in an actual camera, you can do that as well. Another thing that I would highly suggest is getting some sort of magnification. This is a jewelry loop, and it has a little flashlight on it. But if these are expensive, because those can get kind of expensive, one thing I recommend is a kind of basically a similar thing. It's a jeweler's loop that you can get at the dollar store. You can pretty much get this exact same thing for only $1. So if you're looking for a cheaper alternative to a magnifying thing for coin hunting, I'd recommend that because using a full, a huge magnifying glass kind of can be unwieldy for coin roll hunting. But having something small like this can be handy and it takes up less space. But if you don't want to look for something that costs this much, there's usually some sort of mini flashlight that you can use that they have at any dollar store in your area. I only have Dollar Tree in my area, so that's where I got that's not where I got this one, but that's where I got the other Dollar Tree um, magnification flashlights that I was talking about. And another thing that you might want to consider is do you want to have this more of a private thing? And then you could answer this question two ways. Like, a lot of times corner hunting can be a good activity to do with your family, um, or if you want to even do it alone. Or you could say, hey, I want to post, I want to show people what I find, and I want to post these finds to the internet. You can do videos like I do, where I show the coins and I hunt them and I upload and show you guys what I find. So that's another thing you might want to consider if you want to maybe show your finds to the public, to the internet, and see what people think about them. Obviously, the internet being what it is, you'll probably get a lot of criticism, but that's the internet. You can't escape it. Um, Another thing, the final thing that I kind of wanted to talk about was kind of on the basis of returning coins. If you're like me and the only really alternative is wrapping them, unless you want to lose a huge fee with Coinstar, is getting wrappers. Now, the good thing about this, the positive thing about getting wrappers is rolling them all. The positive thing about rolling them all yourself is banks give these to you for free, so you don't have to pay anything to roll your coins back up. I mean, I just a couple days ago I went to my local Chase Bank and they just gave me a bunch of these. You don't need to pay for these at all; they give them to you. So that's not even really an expense you need to consider unless you want to invest in the more expensive rolls that have the crimped ends. I'll show you an example like this that already have the crimped ends. Those are a little bit more expensive, and you usually have to buy those online. But banks give you these for free. So at least, even if you're stuck having to roll it all up, at least you don't have to um, pay any money for it. So I just wanted to make this video because it's something that I wanted to kind of touch on, and something that I feel like I haven't talked about in a while, something I haven't done a video on in forever. And so sorry for this kind of this is my bedroom, so it's kind of an odd background. But yeah, I just wanted to make this video because I realized that I hadn't made a video like this in forever, and there were a lot of topics that I wanted to touch on, um, that I've been kind of thinking about recently. So, um, anyway, that's pretty much it for this video. This isn't gonna be part of a series or anything. It's just gonna be kind of a one-off video. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Again, hopefully you, if you're new to corner hunting, hopefully you found some of these usable. Um, and yeah, take care.